First, let's look at some of the recent things that have been learned about the brain. And the key finding that everyone is talking about is what is referred to as brain plasticity. So people used to think that some people had the brain for maths or other subjects and some didn't, but recently there have been stunning examples of brain growth. Now, the brain isn't actually made of plastic, but the idea of neuroplasticity refers to the lifelong capacity of the brain to change and rewire itself. In fact, there have been stunning examples of the brain's ability to create new neurons and connections in recent years. So when learning happens, a synapse fires. Electric currents fire and create new neurons and connections between neurons. And the paths of a synapse are like footprints in the sand. They can become firm paths if they're travelled a lot, or without use they wash away. And the brain is so flexible, it's changing by the minute. It's losing and gaining connections. You may even be gaining or losing, hopefully the former, synaptic connections right now. So let me introduce you now to the life of a London cab driver. All London drivers have to learn 320 routes that help them remember and learn the 25,000 streets and 20,000 landmarks and places of interest within a 6-mile radius of Charing Cross in London. So it's extremely complex, and they have to pass a test which is called the Knowledge. All black cab drivers have to have passed the Knowledge. It takes between 2 and 4 years to pass the All London Knowledge, and once you're licensed you can work anywhere in the Greater London area. Here's a photo of London streets. As you can see, there's no grid structure in London. So what the research has found is that the taxi drivers go through a training period, and by the end of their training period, the hippocampus had grown. When they retire from being a black cab driver later in life, the hippocampus shrinks back down again. They also found they compared the brains of London taxi drivers with London bus drivers, and the London bus drivers don't have to learn such a complex set of routes, and found that the hippocampus of taxi drivers was bigger than the bus drivers. So the region of the hippocampus that had grown is specialised in acquiring and using complex spatial information in order to navigate efficiently. So a second example of brain growth was a 9-year-old girl who had half of her brain removed. She was having fits, and they literally took out one hemisphere, and at first her whole left side was paralysed. But she amazed doctors, as within weeks she'd grown connections back, and eventually in a very short time developed all of her functions back, and that was because of the incredible and fast growth of her brain. So we now know that all students, maybe except those with a very specific learning disability, but all other students can achieve at the highest levels in maths in all levels of school, K right up to the end of high school. And other countries that believe this about students do a lot better than we do in the US or the UK, so countries such as Japan. So here's the irony. Children can develop half a brain or change their brain significantly, yet we think kids can't develop a few neurons they need to learn algebra. Many people think that some kids are capable or smart or high ability, whatever you want to call it, and some are not. Now, we all know students come into maths classes with some of them finding work easier, some finding it really challenging. But that doesn't reflect their potential for future work. What it tells you is that students have been having different experiences since childhood, and some of those experiences have been causing synapses to fire and some haven't. So as teachers, our job is really to disrupt the trajectories of students who haven't had challenging experiences, and it's to provide all students with the richest and most challenging environment possible. If their brain can change in 3 weeks, think what students can do over the course of a year with the right materials. So to recap, brain research tells us a number of things. It tells us every child can excel in mathematics in school from elementary to high school. It tells us about the potential of the brain to grow no matter where students start from, and that potential is huge. It tells us that every new learning experience changes your ability. Even though we think of students as having a certain ability or not, being high or low, every experience can change that ability. So we use fixed ability language all the time, high and low kids, and we need to rethink that. So scientists know that kids can develop the wiring to learn any maths in school, But many teachers and parents still believe in a kind of natural ability, and a number of schools, probably most schools, are still set up on outdated models of fixed ability thinking.